staying with us now, we'll take you to a scenario playing out in Kaduna State, which is troubling and concerning, though, about the abduction of students from the government school in Kugirawa in Shikun local government area of Kaduna State. And that we've seen the governor of the state, Senator Ubasani, visited and toured the area where the attackers happened. One of the teachers that told us that about 280 students or more are being abducted from that school. And let me allow you to listen to Governor Ubasani.
What I can say here is that by the grace of God, under my able leadership, we will try as much as possible to ensure that every child returns. By the grace of God, inshallah. We are doing our best. I'm going to work with the community leaders. I want to work with the traditional leaders here, as well as the youth, to ensure that every child return back home by the grace of God. I discussed with the National Security Advisor. He has assured me they are also working, and I've also spoke with the GOC Women Mechanized Division. He has also assured me they are also trying. Here we are with the Commissioner of Police and the Director of SSS, and all of them are working closely with Kaduna government under my leadership. No child will be left behind.
Sad scenario playing out. Well, this is a community, if you understand how the topography and the geography of that area is an area particularly troublesome for bandit attack for some years now, and it brings to bear the situation in Kankara in Katsina State and Emure Ekiti in Ekiti State in southwest Nigeria, where we've seen abductions and attacks. What exactly can we do at this point? The governor's promised that these students will be brought back home safely. But how can this happen? How can we ensure that these students are brought back? Some of the stories we're hearing are that some of the students who try to escape the attacks by these bandits, some of them were left injured. Let's get some expert opinion on this one. I'm being joined by a security expert, Dr. Kabir Adamu, joins us live here in Abuja. So thank you so much, Dr. Adamu, for joining us.
My pleasure.
Sad scenario playing out there. 280-something students. We trying to get authorities to confirm those figures, but teachers are saying they're counting the numbers, and that is what they can make sense of. But make sense for it in all of this for us. And what do you make an initial summary and assessment of the situation there? What can you tell us?
Thank you, Sheun. Indeed, sad situation. What we learned was that pupils gathered on Thursday morning to do the usual assembly that...
It's just yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. The usual assembly that they do around 7:30 thereabout. And just around the same period, bandits surrounded the school and then literally herded these pupils from two schools, the secondary school and then the primary school, literally herded them into the forested part of that town, Kuriga. And their parents were literally watching when it happened. Some of the teachers who were together with them were also herded together with them. And that's it. Now, the interesting thing is that forested part is close to Birnin-Gwari. And of course, because it's close to Birnin-Gwari, it gives access all the way to Katsina and then probably to Zamfara. The feelers that we're getting at the moment, it's very possible that the perpetrators may have come from these locations.
Well, if we know of the history of Birnin-Gwari and its environs and the nearness of the forest, and we do know that the perpetrators, the bandits, they've used that forest so many years now to perpetrate their evils and cut away our students as though they're going for a festival. What do you think could have gone wrong? I mean, if they went through that, and how easy can we get them back? Because the assurances are, we will get them back home. But they say in the security parlance that the very first few hours are very crucial.
In simple terms, it's a failure of intelligence. The fact that this number of bandits could move from wherever it is that they moved, come to that location and carry out the attack that they carried out and escape with their victims. The simple failure of intelligence. Apart from the failure of intelligence, so in security, you run about 6 different components. If you fail to prevent it, there are 3 components that would allow you to prevent it. Now, that failed. And the other three components, the 3 R's of security that would have come into play after the incident, we haven't seen that. And I say this with all sense of responsibility. You are in the media. Who has been queried? Who has been maybe even told to step aside after that incident? We're talking of 287 pupils.
And Professor Usman Yusuf was here the other day and talked about 50 people
that are still in the hands of...
and nothing is being said about
them. So we've accepted failure in security. And if we're going to change this, we shouldn't accept failure. In 2019, we gathered the world and launched a safe school policy for the protection of our schools. We told the world that this is a document, and that document is out there with a guideline for the implementation of the various components of that document. This is 2019. Well, how many years down the road? Before then, there was the Safe School Declaration, there is the Safe School Initiative, and then almost on a weekly basis, I document this in my company. You see one or the other ministry, department, or agency launching a school security outfit, as if we do not have this global framework for the protection of our schools. So back to the question you asked, if we have a school in that environment that is close to Birnin-Gwari, I really don't understand why that school did not have requisite protection that would have prevented those bandits from taking them away. From what we know, even the town itself does not have security deployment. I heard the traditional ruler of the town literally crying after the incident. The police post that was meant to be there has been shut down. So you had this number of pupils gathered in one place with literally no protection.
Every indices that could birth this kind of sad scenario were in existence. And there's no way you can blame that incident because those things were absent. And a big question here, which should actually prick the minds of every sensible citizen and anyone in leadership today in this country, is how far we have come to failing in terms of building a local network of governance, which we have deterred in the first place. And I mean, in the US, and touring one of the tourist sites that I visited, and they told me this is one of the fortress in the United States, in the heart of Washington, D.C. And I'm being told that, yes, we anticipate there may be an attack on this particular facility, on this ground. But what happens is that nothing less than 500 boots we get here in less than 5 minutes. And these people that you see right here are those who can fend off any attack, but they will hold it off for about 7 minutes until reinforcement comes. And you cannot get enough enforcement on the ground, but you can get reinforcement with using intelligence and rapid response when you see this kind of thing. So people will ask the question, this kind of attack goes on for hours and hours and no single reinforcement or effort being made immediately.
I mentioned earlier on that security is a conduit. You have basically 6 elements. The first 3 elements, to deny, deter, deny, delay. And then, of course, once you're able to do that, the incident will not occur. But where these 3 fails, then you now bring in the next 3 elements, which is the element to response, like you spoke about, the element to review, and then the element to recover. Now, what we've seen consistently is the failure to apply this very basic principle in security. We tend to deploy directly. That concentric cycle that would allow these 6 elements that I've mentioned, unfortunately, has not been happening. Now, the other thing that we've also seen recently is the very haphazard manner which governors are creating vigilantes. When it's adding to this challenge, there is no framework at the moment that is guiding the governors in the creation of that these vigilantes. We also are aware that perhaps because of the manner of recruitment, certain elements within the society are very unhappy. So as an example, the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion are not followed. So you create a vigilante, and then you just recruit one ethnic group. And then because that ethnic group perceives another ethnic group as being the criminals among them, now you recreate the problem. It happened in Zamfara, it's happening in Katsina, it's also possibly happening in Kaduna State. So I think there is a need for the federal government to step in, create a framework that would guide the governors. If we're going to accept this, for instance, if we don't go the state police method and we're going to allow these vigilantes to remain, the framework needs to guide them.
Can you blame them? Because we're understanding that there are blame games, of course, that some of these vigilantes from Katsina and Zamfara, and experts within the sector are also querying the vigilantes and what has led into some of these perspectives that may not be popular out there. But if you can give a sense of how does this vigilante be responsible or can be fingered in all of this that is happening?
So the vigilantes were created to address a challenge. There is a gap. But then when in creating them, you do not provide the right framework for them to exist. In the case of Zamfara, the example I gave you, if we go back to when Governor Yari used to be governor, the monster that we have today actually started from there. The Fulanis who felt the vigilantes that were created were targeting them, and they did target them. Their women would go to the market, these vigilantes would stop them, rape them in certain instances, and then of course it's documented. Some of these vigilantes who have not been properly trained, I mean the most recent one that happened in Zamfara is an Islamic cleric. They went to the town, invited him for questioning, and the next thing he was decapitated. That problem has not been solved till now. It just happened a few days ago. So there are instances.
So there are possibilities that they've gone rogue.
They have gone
and
rogue.
They have weapons at their disposal.
At their disposal. And then there is no mechanism for checking their activities.
So there is a menace that the state policing concept could cause.
Of course.
If it's not properly managed.
Of
and
course.
This could be one of them.
This could be one of them. I mean, there is even the Southeast, when they created Ebubuegu, what happened in Imo State and I think possibly Anambra State, there was a lot of rancor from residents regarding the abuse and heavy-handedness by some of these agents. So while I agree that there are gaps in the current security architecture and there is a need for increased deployment at the state level, we have to be very careful in the manner that we approach this. And we have to come back to the federal government. Under our current laws and the security architecture that we have, the Office of the National Security Advisor and perhaps the Inspector General of Police should have taken up that responsibility. If the state governments are creating these vigilantes, they should perhaps a framework that would allow for the documentation. And then what are the checklists, the standards for the recruitment of the various persons that would serve in that capacity? Who is going to train them? What in terms of their understanding of law enforcement, are they just going to arrest, or are they even going to, like what we saw in Zamfara, also met out judgment? You can't have that.
I mean, I'm bothered today about how we can get these pupils, whom I know, the brothers, the sisters, the family members, their parents will not be at peace at the moment. In fact, that school will be so desolate and things will not be all right in that community. How they will be back home safely. And we do know that we do not have enough boots on the ground. And in fact, I had a guest on the program who said he does think that the job of FRSC is outdated. NSCDC, FRSC, and some paramilitary organizations should be co-opted, retrained, and merged as police force that we do not need to replicate. The FRSC has its role also duplicated in the Nigerian police force. The NSCDC protecting, they're doing pretty much the work of police. How then can't we just put them together and increase the boots on the ground? But the question is, how do we get these children? Do we have the technical know-how, the technology necessary to be able to find them in the bushes, in the forest?
Sheun, beyond what the president released, which is commendable, he released a statement and he has directed the security agencies to bring these boys back. I'm hoping that behind the scene, the administrative machinery that runs the presidency, they would have raised specific tasking orders to the various security organizations. Those tasking orders have to be specific. For instance, I mean, the various agencies that have responsibility for internal security, give them specific timelines. They failed in allowing the incident to occur. Now, if we've gone to the extent where we're accepting failure, then let's not accept the consequence of that failure. Give them timelines, 10 days, 2 weeks, produce these kits. If the leadership of those organizations don't produce them, we show them the way. It's as simple as that.
President Tinubu has said to the governors, arm your forest rangers. Go inside the bushes. So take away the blame from the center. Yes, the center has the power, has all of the authorities to administer the policing and the security architecture. But what are the governors also doing? This forest that these criminals and these bandits are staying, are the forest rangers? Have they been deployed? The governors are said to have taken more monies in the FARC allocation, more than they've taken in the last few months. What have they done with it? This is a critical question. The lives of students and innocent pupils are involved here, Mr. Kaduna.
I mean, I can't say it better than you've said it. In particular, the governors in the Northwest. Almost all the governors in the other regions are discussing security. And to an extent, they've created some regional framework for addressing security. But in spite of the fact, if I show you our February report, you'll be shocked at what is happening in the Northwest.
It's bad.
For every indices, Northwest is occupying the highest point. But they're not doing any regional
have more governors in the Northwest.
7 governors. And yet they are not really talking together and approaching this issue in the manner that it should be approached. So yes, I agree that the searchlight that we currently have at the federal government should also go to the state government.
Because we thought that as soon as the Bola Tinubu government got into office, insecurity just, I mean, instances and criminal activities went to its lowest ebb that we've seen in months. I mean, we just started seeing all of this happening again.
The numbers suggest a plateau, unfortunately. And for us to move forward, we have to, that plateau needs to start coming down. And the only way that plateau can come down is to see enhanced coordination, collaboration, and cooperation between the federal and state government. We've spoken about the responsibility of the state government, but we now need to talk about accountability. We need to make sure that especially the leadership of the security organizations, I mean, the mandate of all the security organizations is very clear. But where there is a failure, a monumental failure like what we saw, then someone needs to be held accountable.
And not only being held accountable, some people do not need to sleep until these children are back. We need to hold the people accountable to ensure that these pupils who did not offend anybody, they're just in their school, they did not offend anybody by going to school. They are in the kidnappers.
There are 8-year-olds among them. Between the age of 8 and 12.
These guys have no soul at all, these criminals.
And I think we need to show to them as a country that enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Dr. Kaduna, thank you so much indeed for your time and the insight that you have given to us. But that's our show for tonight. I feel so sad going to bed sometimes when I discuss all of these things because I do hear a lot of things. I have a lot of information, but the little that we are able to bring to bear for you as a citizen of this country, we need to pray for our country and it will get better. I believe so much. I have the love of this country at heart.